On this week's World of Saltwater Fishing, we're off Prince Edward Island, Canada, chasing down giant bluefin tuna. And wait until you see the red-hot fishing that exists here. Don't miss it.
George POVEROMO'S World of Saltwater Fishing, where big fish don't stand a chance.
It was the anticipation of having a go at giant bluefin tuna off Prince Edward Island that encouraged me to come up from South Florida and team up with Captain Mark Jenkins of Top Notch Tuna Charters. Mark is one of the local captains here that does a lot of other things commercially to sustain themselves. In the past several years, he's been into catch and release for giant bluefin tuna that a lot of the local captains are into now. And the captains here have been just finding out what a red-hot economy this can be. So you can imagine what was going through my mind when I met up with Mark and Cody Jenkins aboard their boat at Bay Fortune Marina. I had a very comfortable drive out to the grounds, and as Mark explained, if the current is really running hard out there, we would go on the drift and start trying to chunk up these bluefin tuna and then bait them with a Penn International 130. And once the tide started slowing down a bit, he said he set a herring net out, which is a rather unique deal in that you have this long herring net. In essence, it's one big long chum bag, and the bluefin tuna rarely shy away from that net. In addition to using that as a chumming device, this is how they get the quantities of herring that they would use to end up chumming and chunking for these bluefin tuna.
So it's about an hour steam where the reef is, Fisherman's Bank. And when we get there, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to set up drifting.
When we pulled up to the tuna area on Fisherman Bank, Mark had his numbers. He said the fish should be all around in here. As
we drift across, guys, if we see anything, we're going to start to chum. Okay, try to draw the fish around the boat.
I fished for bluefin tuna before. So, you know, the biggest bluefin prior to this trip for me was a 248 pounder. So without a doubt, I know how strong bluefin tuna can be. But to have a shot at the giants, I'll tell you, this was something new to me, and if I told you that I didn't have any butterflies in my stomach, I'd be lying.
Now we're in a drifting mode, so yes, is it a certain area we're drifting? How long to drift? Give me an idea of how to set yourself up.
Well, what we're doing right now is we call these Uis around here, but they're just surface baits, and we're drifting. We're going to set up the kite, and we're going to try this until the tide settles down a little bit. Maybe we'll get lucky enough to get a bite. Once the tide settles down, we're going to go grab onto our nest, and we're going to try that too.
Okay, with the tide. Now, we got wind opposing tide now?
Right, it's good. That's why it's so rough. The wind's going against the tide right now.
So when that changes and slacks some, you're going to pick up on
We're going to go hit the nest.
On the hook.
Yeah, we're going to.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good.
We've got some fish around the boat right now. We're marking them on the sounder. We're going to see if we can bring them up around 20 or so, okay? Be nice to be able to see these fish.
And it was a matter of trying to work these tuna fish up, or actually get them excited enough to come up to the top, start eating the herring that we're throwing out, or go on the opposite side of the boat and pop the live bait off the fishing kite.
All right, Coach.
All of a sudden, we see a couple big bluefins on the other side of the boat. And I'm seeing these huge monsters just eating them down.
I start feeding one down. I say, okay, George, let's go, get ready. I feed it up, bang, it's out of my hand, gone. We're hooked up. Now we're in business.
And this bluefin tuna was smoking line off a Penn 130 International like it was 8-pound test. This was one amazing sight. We were sort of in a precarious position in that we had other boats around us. Your first worries are trying to skirt through any kind of nets and let that tuna get through there, and also around any other boats, and some of them are hooked up.
George jumps in the chair, we hook him in, and I say to George, okay, get ready, here we go. And you know what, we're on. And George, we're pumping this fish pretty good. He's working, he's not giving this fish any mercy. Give it to him, George. Put it to him.
Once I got in that chair, clipped on to the Penn 130 International, and to experience this bluefin tuna running while you're strapped up to this big outfit, it's mind-blowing. That's all I could say. You're dealing with a fish that's 500, 600, 700 pounds out there, and you're trying to slow it down. And you just have to hang on and let that fish make that long run. And once the fish would start to slow down a bit, Mark, the captain, would get on it.
Once we get that, we get that rod in the chair, it's the angler's job, okay, to bring this fish to the boat. It's my job to help him keep that fish on the line, okay?
It's a psychological game here too. You're looking at all the Dacron that we're into. All of a sudden, I see the monofilament header. Yes, I'm on the monofilament header now, and you keep cranking. You think it's a happy point until you realize you still have 150 to 175 yards out from that point. But it's a psychological victory once you get the mono back onto the reel.
We got George Poveromo on a giant bluefin tuna off the coast of Prince Edward Island, Canada. And he's doing a great job. He's showing this tuna who's boss right now.
George Poveromo's World of Saltwater Fishing, proudly brought to you by Mako. You'll find them where the fish are. Bass Pro Shops, your adventure starts here. Mercury Marine, go boldly. SIMRAD and the revolutionary new Halo radar. Go with SIMRAD and go with confidence.
It's back to the land of the giant bluefin tuna. I'm off Prince Edward Island, Canada, fishing with Captain Mark and Cody Jenkins with top-notch tuna charters. To say that it wasn't a hotly contested battle, I would be lying. That fish was just tough. And then you're gaining line, gaining, inch by inch, and the fish would take some off and you gain some more. And once I saw the fish in the color in the distance, it was like somebody just gave you a shot of adrenaline. Oh, it's coming to a close. I could see the fish now, the closing stages of the battle. And as you continue to sit there and fight for every inch, you see the swivel pop above the water surface. There's the leader coming up right now. Let's get this fish up into the hands of Cody the wireman.
When we finally get that fish leadered and Cody pulls it to the boat, I leave the wheel, I run back, and we have a special swimming gaff that we put in the mouth of the tuna. All of while we're doing this process, we don't want to harm the fish either. We got to try to keep him moving, keep that oxygen, that water flowing through his gills. Once I get the gaff in his mouth, okay, then we have a big tail gaff we put around his tail, okay? That's the one George grabs after he gets out of the chair. And basically what we're doing now, Cody holds onto the gaff, George holds onto the tail, and we're swimming this fish. All in the meantime, we're trying to get the hook out, we're getting the line out, we're looking after this fish the best way we can because we want to make it a healthy, successful release.
And once they told me it was okay to come out of that fighting chair, I couldn't wait to get unclipped and go over there and admire my first giant bluefin tuna fish. They estimated between 550, maybe 600 pounds. What an amazing fish.
There he goes.
There he goes.
There he goes.
There we go. Woo! Woo! Freaking right. Good job. Great job, boy.
Gone. All right. All right. Nice work, man. Good job. Nice work in the rod.
Man.
You're sweating. What's wrong?
I think just a little bit.
It's supposed to be cold up here in Canada.
And kudos to the Canadian anglers that participate in this catch and release fishery. They work with the fish to ensure that it's going to survive.
All these regulations are really put in play for the fish. We, the fishermen, got together and said, there must be something else we can do with these amazing fish. They're here. So that's where this catch and release come into play.
And just because they're just so darn big, anything out here less than 130-pound test tackle, you're kidding yourself. So I brought up the big guns on this trip. You had to have the most powerful reel in the world to tackle fish like that, and that was the Penn International 130 VSX reel, a 2-speed reel built for the ultimate big game types of fishing, hence bluefin tuna. Now, one little modification or a trick, so to speak, that they use is it's called a tuna bomb. A tuna bomb is basically a length of tubing that rides on the fishing line with a couple of sinkers. It's all taped up, and it's rubber banded onto the fishing rod itself. And when the fish hits and you let him run, and all of a sudden when you start to advance that drag to the strike position and that line just comes tight, the tuna bomb will snap off the rod, and the goal is to have that slide down the fishing line all the way to the fish's jaw, so the piece of tubing would actually be inside the fish's jaw and keeping the teeth away from the fluorocarbon leader. And over the course of a decent fight, or actually a hard fight, where you're really pressuring this fish, there'll be little chance of one of these tuna actually chafing off the hook. So Mark says, we're going to go back up to the herring net now. The tide is starting to drop a bit. We ought to be able to hook up to the herring net, get these fish chummed around. And they're going back to supplement the net drop by throwing over herring out of their fish box. And it was, I don't know, seconds. All of a sudden, boom, boom, here come these bluefin tuna. I'm watching these fish come by, and here comes a monster who just inhales mine. Game on again.
We're on. Hooked up.
How the heck we missed that? I don't know.
Okay. All right, let's see if we can get out of this mess. Yeah, look at the screen. I don't know about you, George, but I'm sweating up here. What's it like back there?
I'll trade places anytime. Not really.
I'm working this fish, and tuna bomb is up on a leader somewhere. Working it, all of a sudden, just the most disheartening feeling that you can imagine when you're out there fishing, especially after you work close to an hour on a beautiful fish. The tuna had frayed off. One of the tough breaks of the game, and you hate losing any kind of fish, but I guess that does happen when things don't go 100%, and anyway, my time to lose a fish. Well, there was our half a day. Got my first bluefin released alongside the boat, and we fought, and we ended up losing another one. Per the regulations, you know, you got your 2 shots, even though we lost a fish. We were still on that fish for close to an hour, and that counts as basically your 2 fish.
George POVEROMO'S World of Saltwater Fishing, proudly brought to you by ACR, the leader in marine safety electronics. Rapala, your best shot at a world record. The Florida Keys and Key West, come as you are. Papa's Pilar, a rum inspired by possibly the world's greatest adventurer.
Back off Prince Edward Island, Canada, I'm fishing for giant bluefin tuna with Captain Mark and Cody Jenkins with Top Notch Tuna Charters.
We only have about 3 or 4 days left to fill our tag. So I asked George, you know, while he was here, if he'd be kind enough to help us fulfill that. And George said, you bet. So we went out the next day, and we were geared up now to do a commercial harvest. I asked George, he was game. So we're heading out. We're going to get our commercial fish.
Day 2, we're back at it again. We're excited. We're running right back out to Mark's herring net to get on the hook and go back to chasing down these big bluefin tuna.
So I say to Cody, start throwing some herring over. We got fish here right now.
You have Cody back there throwing some free handouts, and this was almost instantaneous. You look down there, here are the bluefin tunas, and they are hungry. I man my station, and we're sitting here looking at these bluefins, and all of a sudden I see this monster coming through the boat. It goes back under, disappears again. Here comes another couple fish, and we're throwing the chunks over, and now my bait goes over, and I saw this brute of a bluefin tuna come up and inhale my bait to the point where I'm looking at that fish. Do I really want this one here? That thing was a moose.
Stretching it out now.
It wasn't that little one. No, it was that big one. He's running?
He's taking line. Quite by hand.
While we're doing this battle, George, of course, is doing an awesome job. He's working that fish. That rod didn't come straight the whole fight, and that's important too. You got to keep that rod bent. Around the 45-minute mark, the leader swivel broke the top of the water, and Cody is our leader guy, and I said, grab the line, Cody, and see what you think.
When he finally grabbed that leader and got it in possession, and I saw him actually moving up on it, at that point in time, I said, whew, the fight's over. I can relax. We're going to get this fish. We have this fish.
There's not much I can do with the boat anymore, so I run back, and the first thing that we have to do to that fish when we get him beside the boat is we got to put a tail rope on him. That fish is not your fish, no matter what, unless you get his tail tied up.
Mark and I had a discussion going out. They get 1 kill permit a year, and this was a fish that they were going to kill and take in.
The next thing that we have to do, and this all has to happen very quickly because we want to secure the quality of this fish as well, okay? We got to put a swimming gaff in its jaw, all right? So the next thing we do is we take a smaller gaff, hook it in the mouth of the tuna to bring it up so I can reach it, and we have a big stainless steel gaff that we put right in the chin of the tuna, and as soon as we get that secured, we let the fish go back about 30 yards behind the boat, and we swim him for about an hour and a half and let him cool down.
And after an hour, once the core body temperature should be nice and cool, they'll bring that fish back up alongside the boat. At that point in time, they'll bleed the fish and get all the blood. And to make sure that the quality of the meat is still 100%, is they won't sit there and try to horse this fish into the boat. They'll just tie it closer to the transom and just have that cold water just wash over the fish.
We're pulled into Surrey, which is one of the closer harbors to Fisherman's Bank, and there's a buying station there, so I got to call them ahead of time. They're waiting for us. We pull up to the dock, and first thing we do is we drop the head. We put because this fish is big, we have to tow them in, okay? He wasn't in the boat. We had to tow him in. They hoist him out of the water, get a few pics, of course, but the very time conscious. We have to get this fish on ice as quickly as we can.
They put it on the scale, 701 pounds. You think I wasn't happy at that point in time? Giant bluefin tuna, a 701 pounder. I can't tell you how excited I was. What an immense fish that was.
It's a lot bigger and fatter than I thought it was.
He gets in that ice bath. He's going to spend the night in there. The next morning, they stuff him full of ice. They put a thermal blanket on him. They put 2 metal straps around that crate and stamp Japan, and he's gone.
The whole Prince Edward Island experience, what a beautiful piece of country. And a perfect place is the Brunel River Resort, which is a Rod's Hotel and Resort property. Just a remarkable piece of real estate here. They're open from May through October, and where we stayed, they have a total of 16 gold cottages, which were really a very comfortable, well-appointed facility and part of the environment here. If you're not into fishing but you like golf, they have a big golf course, they have a restaurant, you have kayaks, canoeing, they have tennis courts, horseback riding. Just a very comfortable, well-appointed facility to stay at if you're up here catching giant bluefin tuna. I totally recommend this place.
George's Tackle Locker.
Keeping your boat clean is not difficult at all, but there are some tricks to shorten the time spent in washing your rig. For example, I'll periodically apply a quick coat of StarBrite Boat Guard on my outboard cowlings and hull. This is a spray and wipe style of polish that leaves a very protective wax shield. For the bolsters and seating, I'll apply StarBrite's Ultimate Vinyl Guard to remove any grime or greasy smears. It too leaves a protective coating. Between these 2 products alone, should the boat get bloody catching dolphin or a large fish, or splattered with chum when bottom fishing, all should hose right off, and any remains will be removed effortlessly during the washdown back at the marina. Again, it's the protective coating I'm seeking from these products. So the bottom line, take some time in between fishing trips to apply these protective cleaning aids, and you and your crew will spend far less time doing the big washdown at the end of a fishing day.
George Poveromo'S World of Saltwater Fishing, proudly brought to you by Suffix, always use the best line. Penn, let the battle begin. StarBrite, professional grade boat care products. King Sailfish, the pioneer of catch and release mounts.
To sum up my trip, to Prince Edward Island to chase down giant bluefin tuna with Mark and Cody Jenkins with their top-notch tuna charters, it is totally beyond belief.
And we had 3 days of unbelievable fishing. My brother Cody and I, we made some great new friends. We learned some stuff too. I've been at this for a long time, but you know, George taught me some things too this year that I won't forget.
If you ever aspired to catch and release a giant bluefin tuna and to have the opportunity to see these fish in such numbers that you could hold them alongside your boat and feed them, you have to put this one on your list. This is totally incredible. Mark Jenkins, what great fun guys to be with. They're like your neighbors you grew up with.
And we might have the odd soda tonight and a brown bottle to celebrate our new friendship and some successful angling.
Great people, fun, hardworking, and they know their stuff about catching bluefin tuna in these waters here. I can't tell you enough how excited I was to have the opportunity to come up here and do this and set my own personal best giant bluefin tuna record.
And unfortunately, the trip has to come to an end, but you know what? There's always another time.
You need to get up here and do it, period.